Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel GMB Show. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Scenes on ITV's quiz show The Chase earlier this week saw contestants win an impressive sum after one took a risk during the cash builder, which later paid off after a blunder. ITV The Chase's Paul Sinha hands in notice after players won £100,000 in a show that aired this week. Host of the program Bradley Walsh joked that Paul needed to quit his job as a chaser after the blunder. He said that Paul has handed his notice in after an unbelievable final round where the contestants won. Players Ian, Jenny, Gregor, and Karen all started out on the show in a bid to win some money. Ian, who was a magician from London, took on the chaser first as he managed to get £6,000 in the cash builder. He then went up against the Sinnerman in the next round. He managed to beat Paul and landed himself a place in the final. Jenny then tried her luck but was unfortunately beaten by the chaser and was sent home. Karen then stunned the audience and viewers at home as she went for the high offer of £93,000. Fans of the show took to social media to applaud Karen for going for the biggest amount of money. One said, "Good girl," while a second added, Karen didn't even stutter taking that high offer. The gamble paid off as she managed to also get into the final with Ian, which meant they had the chance to win £100,000 between them. The two players managed to answer 16 questions correctly in the final chase before Paul tried to beat them. However, Paul wasn't able to beat them as he usually would, which meant they walked away with £50,000 each. There was only 1 second left on the clock as Bradley said, "That was close." The chaser then praised Ian and Karen as he added, "You absolutely deserve every penny of that." He then expressed how disappointed he was with himself as he joked, "I've cost ITV £100,000, but you don't need to care about any of that." It was then that Bradley quipped, "That's a funny way to hand in your notice." Ian and Karen then went on to talk about how they planned to spend their winnings. Karen said she wanted to treat her son by taking him to the Abu Dhabi Formula One Grand Prix, while Ian said he wanted to splash out on a new car. Despite his loss, it was recently revealed that the Sinnerman is the most successful chaser. Betway reported that Paul has a 78% win rate across 436 appearances on the chase. Paul Sinha's face was a mask of calm, but behind his eyes, a storm raged. It was the moment the nation would talk about for weeks. The chase's tense final chase had ended in an eruption of cheers as 4 everyday contestants, Sophie, a nurse, Greg, a postman, Lila, a librarian, and Dan, a quiet university student, defied the odds to take home £100,000 in a stunning, relentless performance. The studio lights dazzled as confetti rained down, Bradley Walsh nearly dropping his cue cards as he shouted, "You've done it! You've just won $100 grand!" But all eyes turned to Paul the Sinnerman, who simply stood, blinking, then gave a soft, amused laugh. "Bradley, I think I've just been retired." At first, everyone thought it was a joke, another classic Paul quip, but he reached into his jacket, pulled out a folded slip of paper, and placed it on the table in front of Bradley. "My notice," Paul said, smiling. "I'm handing it in." The audience gasped. Sophie's hands flew to her mouth, tears forming. Dan mouthed, "What?" in disbelief. The camera swung to Bradley, whose eyes were wide as he fumbled with the paper, unfolding it to see Paul's unmistakable, neat signature. Paul adjusted his glasses, clearing his throat as the studio fell silent. "This team beat me fair and square and in the most beautiful way. I always said if I lost to a perfect team performance, I'd know it's time. Time for me to go travel, to chase the world's hardest quizzes, and maybe just be." Bradley looked up, swallowing hard. "Are you serious, Paul?" Paul's eyes sparkled with a mix of sadness and pride. Deadly serious. Greg wiped away tears as he muttered, "We didn't mean to retire the Sinnerman." But Paul shook his head gently. "Don't ever apologize for greatness. Today you were unbeatable, and I got to witness it front row. The moment turned even more surreal as the entire audience rose in a standing ovation. The 4 contestants stood beside Paul, raising their hands, the confetti still drifting like tiny silver feathers around them. "The chase isn't about me," Paul continued, voice steady. "It's about people like you, reminding the world that knowledge isn't locked away in ivory towers. It lives in nurses, postmen, librarians, students, and all who are hungry to learn." Bradley placed a hand on Paul's shoulder. "Well, Paul, if this is your last chase, you've gone out with style." Paul cracked a grin. "I'll still be around, Brad, just not on this side of the table." And as the credits rolled, viewers across the country sat stunned, moved, and inspired. Twitter exploded with tears and tributes, clips of Paul's notice moment flooding the timeline. On that unforgettable night, the Sinnerman didn't lose. He won in the greatest way possible, walking away head high as a team of 4 champions carried home the £100,000 and a memory that would live forever.